Hey, I'm Wally, and I'm the host of The Wally Show on Way FM, and I wanted to kind of discuss focusing on your audience. A lot of years ago, about 21 years ago, when I first got into radio, my mentor had this really cool diagram, and he said, here's how you learn to focus on your audience and make them the star. You've got the big giant circle, but don't focus on that. Then you see the other hollow circle. Don't focus on that. Just look at the black circle. And what I want you to do is actually, this is kind of cool, focus in on that and just kind of let your eyes just look at the black circle and nothing else. Sorry for freaked you out there a little bit, because the actual thing I want to discuss is the element of surprise. Quick side note, also know your audience. You notice how that wasn't a scary zombie? Because I know somebody would get offended by that and actually lose everything else that I wanted to talk about after that. So I used Jim Caviezel from The Passion of the Christ. Hopefully that's okay. The element of surprise is important, because we're all talking about the same things pretty much. You know, if it's been a national story, you're going to talk about it on your show. I'm going to talk about it on my show. But the surprise is how we get to that same destination. That's the key inside of this. And we always like to ask ourselves when we come up with an idea or a topic, how can we take this to the next level? Don't ever stop at that same predictable first step. Sometimes the first step is where you end up. But if you'd never asked yourself, well, what else can we do? What else is there? Then you'll never capture that element of surprise. Now, there is a difference between shock and surprise. This is a thing I messed up early on. I came from mainstream radio, and I've been here now 8 years. And I thought, you know, to surprise people, you had to be shocking. Shock jockery does not work here. But you can still have honest conversations that shock people or surprise them, because honesty and truth sometimes is that. We were talking the other day about ISIS and them, you know, murdering Christians for their faith. And I had this conversation with my daughter about, well, if I was in that place and I thought I could save my skin and get home to see you get married and walk down the aisle and have kids, would I deny my faith knowing it was just words to these lunatics to get out of that situation, knowing that God knows my heart? And so we had that conversation on the air. It surprised a lot of people that I didn't just toe the straight up Christian line and the politically correct answer that says, I would of course die for my faith. But in that moment, even with my daughter, I wasn't sure what I would do. So sure, I got called a lot of bad things from people, but then after that initial reaction subsided, there were a lot of people that said, you know what, it made me think. What would I do? And that was the whole idea, was to make people think and formulate your own honest answer. Don't just go with the accepted and expected answer. So here's a less edgy version of that, of surprising your audience. Say, for example, you're the funny one on the show. Take times and choose those moments to show a little bit more heart. And maybe you're the person that's the heart on the show. Use those moments to be a little bit more funny or lighten up a little bit, because those are times that will surprise your audience, and actually you'll become more endearing to them because they're learning something new about you that maybe they didn't know before. So that's my encouragement to you, is to always keep that element of surprise, because that's what keeps your audience guessing and ultimately will keep them returning.